Hello Labradoodle lovers. We have a puppy birth announcement today. We are going to introduce you to our Kindred Souls litter, and this is Mama Rowan's second litter of Australian Labradoodle puppies. And in today's video, we're going to tell you all about the birthing process, what Rowan's labor was like. We're going to introduce you to all the puppies. And we have a special little bit we're going to talk about today, and that is one puppy that we are not sure whether he will survive or not, and we'll go into all the details about that, and his name is Stevie. So we'll get to Stevie a little later, and we'll talk about his particular circumstances. Hi, I'm Claire from Van Isle Labradoodles, and this litter is just 2 days old. They were born on Friday, September the 5th, 2025, and it was a very uneventful delivery until the very last puppy. Rowan went into what we call stage 1 labor early in the morning. I could tell at about 3 in the morning she was sleeping beside me. She started kicking me, and she was up and down and all around, and she was on her back, and she was on her side, and she was just generally restless. And so when I figured things were getting underway, and then when we got up in the morning, she immediately went into our closet, got in amongst all my dresses. I have some long dresses that I wear in the summer. So she picked that portion of my closet, got all in there, kicked my shoes out of the way, and made herself quite comfortable. Of course, that's not where we wanted her to have the babies, because it's a little hard to get in there and help her. And also, it's a bit better if we don't have all the messy birth on our carpet. So throughout the day, she was in her donut bed. And we moved the donut bed with us wherever we were. So when I was upstairs working in the office, I brought the donut bed up with me. And then for most of the day, I spent it quilting. That is my hobby. People often ask me how I ever have time to quilt. Well, that is one of the times when I get the most quilting done, is while I'm waiting for a girl to go through stage 1 labor. So in stage 1 labor, we see girls sometimes trembling, usually panting, they won't eat, they're restless, they'll dig, and pretty much what Rowan looks like right now is what they'll look like, other than Rowan is obviously very relaxed right now. Before, when they're in stage 1 labor, they don't look anywhere near as relaxed because they're not comfortable. They usually have their back roached up here, which is a sign of discomfort. So what's going on? Well, part of it is they are actually having contractions that we can't see. They're all internal, because puppies are in uterine horns in dogs, and dogs have 2 uterine horns. So the puppies are in these uterine horns, and when it's time to be born, they start moving from the top down to the bottom of the uterine horn and then to the exit. So now you'll see Rowan's doing a little bit of shaking right now. Most of that is because she's panting and she's hot, but it's also not unusual post-whelp to still have a few of the little trembles and shakes that go along with delivery as she gets her hormones back into their normal state. It takes a little while for everything to come back to normal. But this is very much what you see during stage 1 labor. And all you can do is just what I'm doing right now, is provide some comfort, some support, give them a nice little back rub, and just let them feel that they're safe and secure, and that everything is going well, and that they don't have to worry about anything. Now, the one thing that was a little bit different with Rowan's labor this time was she didn't do any nesting. Normally there's quite a lot of frantic digging just before the first puppy is born, but this time there wasn't any digging at all. And we knew as soon as it was just about time for dinner, Reynold was just putting dinner on the barbecue, that was when she decided she was going to have the first puppy. So of course, as soon as she showed us she was in stage 1 labor, we got everything ready. So all of our Australian Labradoodle puppies are born in our bedroom. And so we had everything prepared. So that includes a carpet like this one that I'm sitting on, and then a series of towels and pads that we put down for the process. And then we have lots of smaller towels. We have our surgical scissors, hemostats, we have a whole array of equipment there. And the most important thing we have is a calcium supplement. And I'm just going to give Rowan some now. Reynold can maybe hand me some. It's just on the counter behind him there, and I'll show it to you. And really what it is a paste, and it's calcium along with some other vitamins in it that allows the calcium to be delivered really quickly. So it's called Oral Cal Plus. And now if anybody is ever wondered about inflation, when we first started breeding Australian Labradoodles, one of these cost about $10. Now they cost closer to about $40. So it's it just goes to show you how much the price of everything's gone up. So you just click it over like that, and you simply get the plunger and you put it right into her mouth there. And she makes a big fuss about it, but she actually likes the taste of it. Usually she'll lick it clean, as she's doing right now. And that just gives her a nice quick dose of calcium, because there is, even though she's only got the 4 puppies and Stevie's not actually nursing, there is still a lot of demand on her body. Now she is, on that topic, producing too much milk. You can see how large her back teats are. The puppies are not wanting to nurse off of here because they're so big, so it's too much of a flow for them when they're this little. So we are managing this with cabbage and phytolacca spray to make sure that the milk is moving and it doesn't continue to accumulate and cause a problem and develop mastitis. So we're keeping a really close eye on that and just making sure that they're soft and supple. I can tell they're feeling a little hard right now, so as soon as we finish this video, we'll put some cabbage on them again. Everything else is nice and doing well. There's a little bit of a mass here that I've been spraying. And the phytolacca is just a little spray. You get little pellets of phytolacca, you mix it up with some brandy and water, and you just give it a good shake, and then you spray it both in her mouth and then directly on the area that's impacted and rub it in. And this is something that is used for women as well as for dogs, and it really works quite well. We've had really good success with it, and it's perfectly safe for the puppies. There is no actual alcohol content that's left in it once you do all the mixing, and the phytolacca is completely safe for them. So that just is one of the little natural remedies that we use to keep things working the way that they should be. And you can see Rowan's looking at me, giving me a bit of a face. These are probably a little bit uncomfortable. I can tell you they're a little bit warm. Of course, everything's a little bit warm in here, including me. The temperature in here is 25 degrees to keep the puppies warm. So that's why she's panting now. So once we got into labor and the first puppy was coming, the first puppy who was born was Red Collar Girl. And this is Red Collar Girl here. And she was born at 6:44 p.m. And she is either a red caramel or a red dog. We'll have to wait and see if she has black leathers. Leathers are the color of the nose and the pads of the feet and the lips, or brown. If they're black like Mama Rowan, then she's a red dog. And if they're brown like Papa Fisher's, then she is a red caramel. It's just a technical way of differentiating things in the Australian Labradoodle breed standard. So Miss Red Collar Girl, she was the biggest puppy that was born. She was 304 grams when she was born. And you can see that she has pretty much no white on her at all. I think there might be a little bit of white, yeah, right here on her paws and the back, and I can tell you that that pretty much looks to me like we're going to have brown leathers and that she is going to be a red caramel. And we didn't have to wait very long because at 7:01 Pink Collar arrived, and Pink Collar is a sable, I'm pretty sure. She could be a phantom. Now why don't I know? Well, sables and phantoms look very similar initially. Sometimes you have to wait and actually do genetic testing to determine whether it's a phantom or it's a sable. It's possible for either one of those things to appear in this litter, as Fisher does carry for phantom, as does Rowan, and Rowan is a sable. A sable is dominant, so it's more likely that we'll have a sable color pattern as opposed to the phantom. And sable is a pattern, not a color. So Rowan is a black sable. She is genetically a black dog, even though she has lots of caramel and cream and all sorts of cool colors all around her. She really has a lot of beautiful variations in her coat, which is part of the reason why I like sables so much, because every dog is different. Their pattern, every sable pattern is unique. So Miss Pink Collar Girl, who arrived at 701, she was a bit smaller at 233 grams. And she's just doing fabulously. You can see on the back here. Now to me, this is the giveaway that she probably is a sable, because she has this stripe here. A stripe down the back is usually the biggest indication that the pattern is sable and not phantom. And then again, we didn't have to wait long. At 721, Purple Collar was born. And Purple is almost a clone, almost a twin of Pink. Again, you can see we've got that chocolate, and we don't have very much white on these dogs. We got a little bit in the pads of the feet, but that's it. A little bit of a goatee maybe on this little girl. And again, she's got the stripe down the back there, so I'm sure that this is a chocolate sable girl. Sorry, you don't want me putting her up in the air that high? Rowan is very dedicated to her puppies. When she had her first litter, she wasn't quite so keen on them. I think she wasn't too sure exactly what to do with them. And it took her a little while to warm up to them, whereas with these ones, oh no. We have had to, until this morning, pretty much carry her outside to go to the bathroom, because there was no way she was leaving the puppies. She'd run out, she'd pee for about 2 seconds, and then run back in and was all excited and anxious about it. And we don't want her to be anxious, of course. So Miss Purple Collar, who arrived at 721, and she's 231 grams. So essentially she and Pink are pretty much twins. And then we had our special boy, Stevie. So Stevie is the only boy in the litter. He arrived at 750, and we didn't have any issues other than Stevie couldn't breathe properly when he was born. Now you can see he's very much tinier. He is a red caramel, and I can tell you he is also, right now, his body temperature is lower than the other dogs. Stevie weighed 180 grams. Well, he probably weighed less than that. We didn't weigh him because we spent the next 3 or 4 hours trying to keep him alive. So what happened? Well, in the sac, sometimes in utero, dogs will breathe in amniotic fluid. Sometimes they'll inhale it through their mouth, sometimes through their nose. He inhaled it through his nose, we think. And why does this happen? Who knows? It's one of those things. He wasn't taking a particularly long time to be born. The sac was intact when he was born. He was born tail first, but that's totally normal. All the other dogs were born first, tail first too. But he couldn't breathe like he's breathing right now. He was going like a fish out of water. He was gasping. We have what's called a dealie. Now, if you've had a baby, you probably know what a dealie is. A dealie is a little contraption where you can put a tube in the mouth and you can suck and you can pull all the fluid out and it goes into a tube. Nothing comes into your mouth, thankfully. So we were using the dealie, and we also have a suction bulb. So we're alternating between the two. We also did a lot of really vigorous rubbing. And if you saw it, you would think, holy cow, they're going to kill that puppy. But it's amazing how tough they are. And you do that, you rub them really vigorously to force them to breathe. And it makes them usually go, oh, and you know, get it together, and they're fine. But that didn't happen with Stevie. So we kept on, like I said. And then When it was about 10 o'clock at night, we stopped for a bit to have a bite to eat, and then we started up again, tried again. He wouldn't nurse. He was totally unable to nurse, and so we thought, well, he's not going to make it. And so we wrapped him all up in a heated disc. We have discs that stay warm for 8 hours. Rowan didn't kick him out, which is a good sign. It's not always indicative of anything, but generally speaking, if moms feel that their puppy has something wrong, they'll push them out of a nest, and they won't let them take up any of the valuable resources for the healthy puppies. So she wasn't doing that. She's always been licking him and keeping him clean and been interested in him. And you can see she's paying great attention right now. Her eyes are laser focused on the two of us here. So that was an encouraging sign, but the breathing was just getting worse and worse and was seeming to slow down. His heart rate was also quite slow. So we left him for a couple of hours. We caught a few hours of sleep, and then we were back up again. Reynolds was up with him around 3, and he was still going. And so then he got me up, and we tried to get him to nurse, and there was no way. So we have milk replacement formula always on hand for emergencies like this. So I put about 1 ml in a syringe and syringed it into him. Because this is really risky, because if he's aspirated, which was what we knew was going on, and you put more fluid into his body, you run the risk of you are actually going to drown him and he will not survive. However, he has to eat, because if he doesn't eat, he's not going to survive. So we took the chance, and he survived, but he still wasn't thriving. And you can see he's not thriving now. So yesterday, he was still gasping all the time. And sorry at that, my hands shake. I have a benign tremor, and it makes it hard. I know sometimes when I take videos, it's probably really hard for you to watch them because my hands shake so much. So yesterday morning, we phoned the vet, told them what was going on, and we took him in. So they did an exam, and yes, his heart is really strong. His heart was beating a little slow. It was 180 beats a minute, which is a little bit slow for a puppy like him, and especially his size. The smaller you are, the faster your heart goes. But he was in pretty good shape, and when we put some dextrose into him with a syringe, he did go through all the motions that he would if he was nursing. Now, he was really dehydrated, obviously. So we gave him some sub-Q fluids at the vet, and the way you know if a dog is dehydrated is you just pinch their skin here, and see he's dehydrated again now. Not as bad as he was, but with the other puppies, when you do that, it'll snap right back down really fast, whereas you can see with him, it's taking a little bit longer. So we went back and forth with the vet, because this is a huge ethical debate. Is he suffering? Is he in pain? Are we doing the right thing by keeping him alive, or do we need to put him out of any discomfort? Does he have a good chance to survive? So we decided that there's a chance. It's not a very good one, but there is a chance, and he does not appear to be in any pain at all. I can hear right now that his breathing is still quite congested. He doesn't have an infection. He doesn't seem to be acting like he has an infection at all. But I can hear he's still struggling to breathe. I can feel the vibration in his lungs. So I don't have a lot of hope for him, but I'm certainly, all of us are pulling for him. So what we're doing now is we're feeding him, and we're using a bottle to feed him. And this is the bottle we use. And even when we feed him with the bottle, he isn't able to nurse on it well enough to be able to get anything himself. He won't open his mouth. I have to open his mouth for him. Usually we have a little bit of an argument while I try to get it in there, which always seems so unnatural. You'd think that he'd want to eat, and then we just hold it oops, it's not even in his mouth. So it takes a little bit of a while, and we come in every 2 hours to get him to eat. Now last night we left him for a few hours to see if he would be hungry enough that he would figure out how to nurse. We have been able to get him to latch once for just a few seconds, but he did not. So we don't want to have any false hopes for anybody. We'd say the chances are not high that he's going to survive, but there is still a chance, and we're doing everything we can to give him the best chance in the world. This is the hardest part of being a breeder, when things like this happen and you have to see them. Now you see he is trying to nurse there, but he's also trying to mouth breathe. So that's why he can't latch very well, because he wants to keep his mouth open to breathe, because he can't breathe through his nose well enough. So when he has something in his mouth, that interferes with his nose breathing. So that's our update today. That was a lot of information on Stevie, but I want everybody to know just exactly what's going on with him. Of course, we're all rooting for him, and we're really hopeful that he will pull through, and with a few more days of us feeding him, that he'll get enough strength, his lungs will clear up, and he'll be able to nurse on his own and go on to have a fabulous life. There's been no brain damage. He's perfectly normal in every way, so it's not something that's going to impact him long term. So that's our update for our birth announcement. We will be doing regular weekly litter updates for these guys. Those videos are going to come out every Saturday for the next few weeks. So we hope that you'll click that button and subscribe, and hit the icon as well, the little bell icon, so you get notified whenever a new video drops. And we hope you'll join us on the journey of the Kindred Souls litter. Thanks so much for watching.